Alright, so as you can see, we've got this recipe here on a very old piece of paper. It's laminated, it's aged. At any rate, this is an old recipe. This is my dad's recipe, and I tried to make it once before and it didn't come out right. And I think the key to that was I simmered it for 25 minutes. I think that was way too long. So we're going to do this, try this again. We're going to make this recipe. The only thing is, as soon as I get this stuff melted, I'm going to bring it up to softball stage and then pour it, and we'll see how it comes out in this attempt. So again, trying to perfect this recipe, and we'll see if we can get it right this time. Alright, so we start with 3 cups of sugar, 3/4 of a cup of milk, a teaspoon of vanilla. In this case, this is imitation vanilla. I'm sure regular vanilla would be even better. Alright, we got 1 cup of peanut butter. Now the recipe calls for chunky. I don't like chunky, so we're just going to use creamy. If you like chunky peanut butter, use chunky peanut butter. I may make a batch of this. If I can get this to come out right, I may make a batch of this with some walnuts added to it, or you could do pecans or something like that too, whatever kind of nut you like, but I'm not going to add chunky peanut butter with peanuts in it. It calls for half a stick of butter. Alright, so now that we got all this in the pot, I'm going to turn the heat on and start mixing this. This sugar and this milk is kind of like concrete to start off with. This here is where you need a good wooden spoon, but my wife doesn't trust me with a wooden spoon for some reason, so I don't have one. Kind of got this on a medium heat. Since I'm stirring it, I'm not too worried about it burning. But it's pretty thick and sugary, so you wouldn't really want to leave this unattended for too long. So you can see that the sugar is starting to get mixed in a little bit. It's no longer so thick that it holds the butter down. The butter's starting to float, so that's a good sign. It's getting hot. It's getting a little bit thinner, less viscous, so that the butter's floating. Alright, so all this stuff is pretty well mixed together. See, it's starting to simmer there. But again, we're not going to simmer this for 25 minutes like the recipe called for. I'm going to try to get this to softball stage and then pour it. So we got our thermometer in there, and softball stage is right here around 235, and that's what I'm going to go for. As soon as we get there, I'm going to call this attempt done. Alright, I'm right around 205 degrees. I'm going to turn my heat down to a 5. Just, again, to keep it from scorching or burning too much. I want to get it hot to 235 quickly, but I don't want to have it so hot on the bottom that it scorches. And I'm to 210. About 215. Still hanging in around 215, so I'm going to turn the burner up just a little bit. Alright, you can see those dark spots there. I'm getting some caramelization on the bottom. It's bubbling up through, so I may have to turn the heat down just a little bit here, or keep it stirring more. Alright, we are to 228, looks like. So we're getting close. Again, you can see that caramelization's coming up. A little bit of that, I'm not too worried, as long as I can keep it from scorching. Alright, I am at 234, 235-ish. Give it just another couple seconds to make sure I hit that 235 mark. Alright, I am at 235. So, we're going to move this off and let it cool. It's pretty thick. So I move the spoon through. You can see I got some darkened spots on the bottom, but I don't think it's burnt. It's just some caramelization of that sugar happening. Alright, so I think I'm going to let that set for about at least 5 minutes, maybe 10, and let it cool just a little bit. Alright, so it has been, let's see here, it's been 8 minutes that this has been cooling. And I think I'm going to pour it at this point because it's starting to thicken up a little bit. I'm going to stir it, whip it up a little bit, get some of these caramelized little sections whipped up in here real good, and then pour it in the platter because if I wait too long, as we found out during the other experiment, it can get to be like Play-Doh, and I don't want to have to mush it in my fudge pan and flatten it all out like it's Play-Doh. I want it to pour in there. And you can see I got little bitty brown spots in there that are where it's caramelized a little bit, and I know last time I had some of those and they were delicious because little bits of, every once in a while you get a little bit of a caramel crunch, which was pretty good. Alright, I'm going to pour this. Alright, here we go. Part of this is holding onto this pan with one hand. I scoop this fudge in here. Should be able to see the bottom of the pan, and it's got a couple little spots where it's browning, but it's not really scorched. So if you see that, don't panic. Don't think you burnt it and throw it all out, because that's just a little bit of caramelization and it's really tasty stuff. You can see where it's starting to set up there. I for sure would not have wanted to waited too much longer before I poured this. You don't want to let it get too cool. Alright, we'll put this in the fridge. Let it set up. Alright folks, I have scraped off all the loose peanut butter fudge here with the spoon. But what I'm interested in is this dark stuff here. Is that going to taste, and this stuff here is delicious. It tastes like caramel and peanut butter. What I'm interested is this going to taste burnt, or is this going to taste like caramel? So I'm going to pour this off into a bowl, and then I'm going to scrape off some of that real dark stuff and let you know, was this stuff burning or was it just caramelizing? Because that can make a big difference. If it's just caramelizing, then you know, no harm, no foul, and don't worry about that a whole lot. But let me see what's going on here. Matter of fact, when I scrape it off, it just, it's on there. It's going to take a while for that to soak, that's for sure. But it looks like peanut butter when it scrapes off. And I will tell you, it's just caramel. Not burnt, doesn't have a burnt taste to it. So if you get that going on the bottom of your pan, be careful with it. But that is just straight up caramel. It's delicious. Alright, so this is chilled. Remember, this is the fudge that we just brought it up to softball as quick as we could. It's a little brittle, but it's not hard. You can see it's soft, even though it's kind of cracks a little bit. a little firm. The big question is, how does it taste? So that's really good, just like the other stuff we did. But again, it's not quite as, we were looking for something a little softer. Again, this is out of the fridge, so it's cold. I'm sure at room temperature it'd be a little bit better, a little bit softer, easier to cut into squares instead of angular crystalline shapes. But that's what we got with experiment number 2. All right, so this is allowed to heat up to room temperature. See, it's cutting a little bit easier. I think it'll work. It's not like I said, it's not as consistency that we're really looking for, but it's not too bad.